I want to talk to you today about my favorite topic, really. It's my whole work, is how to do it, how to reconnect with the soul, with the spirit, so that you have this relationship with it in everyday life, really. Well, that's what it's really all about. But once there's a lot of written there that the whole work is to realize that you're God or divine, that everything is divine. Yes, that is the goal of this spiritual work. But there is something else also after you find this center, the center within you, which is filled, or you found the divinity that you really are in that center, your true self. And that is that your life from that moment on takes on a new structure, a new meaning. That is to say, you are both mortal and divine. You exist in this reality, but you're also firmly rooted in the other, in the invisible reality of the divine. That is to say, with one foot in everyday life and the other foot firmly placed in the world of the spirit. You know, you become a center, a middle way between the two dimensions. They're seamlessly one through you. You become an example of that for others, for healing of the world. You know, you become the balance, the missing balance between the overly rational masculine society, you know, that it's missing its feminine, its irrational, its visions, its dreams, its archetypes, its mythology. It's missing its intuition, especially, you know, receiving answers directly from within yourself. No need for teachers, no need for experts, authorities. You become free, you know, autonomous and free. You're not going to be famous. You're not going to be rich. You're not going to be, you know, on the morning talk shows on TV, because the message that you're going to have is not something that society values. You know, they don't like people who are, the society doesn't like people who are free and autonomous. That makes you dangerous. And if your teaching is to free others so that they too can be, you know, autonomous, free, free spirits, and help others to free themselves as well. But when you free yourself, it doesn't mean that you just walk away from society. It also means that the directions that are coming to you from the spirit, from the soul, will be to be of service to community. So it doesn't mean that you're going to have to be like me, you know, helping others to find their center and free themselves, to realize that they are divine through, like I work with poetry, mystic poetry, or art, or archetypes, or mythology, symbols, dreams, visions. But you can also be in any other way that you are comfortable with, or what is natural to you to be of service to the community. In other words, your life is going to take on a larger and wider perspective. You're going to live for something larger than yourself. You know, no longer just instincts, survival instincts, me, the disaster that we have right now in the world, you know, the pandemic. This is the real pandemic, the me, and to hell with others. You know, my tribe, my people, my family, you know, my political affiliation, and, you know, and fuck the others, really. That's what that is really. That's tearing us apart. You can see this in you know, especially in the Western mind. The Western mind is so divided that I don't know if there's really anything that can be done to put it back together again, to heal it, to bring this oneness, this realization that we are all really just single spirit, single mystery, embodying itself in infinite number of ways. That's why you see this whole new. We're living in a very historical time. We see this a development of a whole new multipolar world in the South and the East. You know, they don't want to have anything to do with the West. Too decisive, too divisive, should I say? It's too cruel, too selfish. So there are many. I've spoken about this in my previous videos on how to do it, how to you know, reconnect yourself with the spirit and become whole. One of the ways that I, for instance, have done it is always with dreams. Art was the first way for me. Actually, probably dreams were the first way for me. But the very, very first way was always intuition. When I was born, I was intuitive. And when you're intuitive, you are, you know, a rebel. You're a maverick. When you recover intuition, you no longer need authorities or people to tell you what to do. You have your own source of advice, and you listen to that advice. And it's going to go against the grain of what is expected of you to do in society, what society needs you to do. You might not want to go you know, to school and get a degree and get married and have 2.5 kids, mortgage for 30 odd years, and a Volvo, 2.5 kids, and a dog. It's a huge difference. Intuition is going to tell you something else, and you're going to have to follow. This is what Joseph Campbell used to say: follow your bliss. What is it about you? What are you good at? The intuition is going to tell you what you're good at, and that's when you have to follow. And if you don't follow, it will put so many obstacles on your path that you're eventually just going to give in and say, all right, stuff it, I am going to follow. And that's when new opportunities come, new doors open, you find people on the way that will help you with whatever it is that you need to do. You become really service to society, an oracle maybe, you know, someone who has a message, someone who is good with organizing, helping others, and so on. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are great at doing you know, things that are uniquely to them. Today is Roger Waters' birthday of Pink Floyd. He not only writes great music, he's a genius for his music, but he also works for the community. He has an open heart. He works for something greater than himself, and he calls for peace. He calls for humanity to be like it's supposed to be, you know, brothers and sisters. We are brothers and sisters, and he calls for us to come together rather than you know, dominate each other, rather than power over, power with. Love each other, respect each other, allow each other to develop the way you want to develop. Okay, so how to do it? I mean, I've done so many videos, and I always come back to this. I always come back to this because this is, I find that for people this is the hardest part. They want to listen about stories and mythology and all this, and when they listen to this and see the video, and forget it. And they just go back to the way that they were doing things before. Sorry, I just got to find, okay, what are we on now? Time. Okay, I got to check the time because this old phone only got about 20 minutes. So we're still okay on time. Anyway, so one of the ways that I, for instance, find the center and reconnect with the spirit, with the soul, and then have a message to communicate to people is, excuse me, by writing mystic poetry. Now, by mystic poetry, I don't mean poetry that rhymes, the classic poetry, although this is the way I started. Rhyming is great because it makes it flow. That's intuition. So I used to, at the beginning when I was starting writing poetry, it was about 1997, 98. I used to have a dictionary, a rhyming dictionary. So a word that connects with this word, and you know, intuition makes connections, intuitive connections. That's when it flows. And that's how you learn to flow, really, to intuitively flow. And it's not only in your, it's not going to be only restricted to your poetry, but it will just eventually flow into everyday life. So overflow, flow, yeah. So, for instance, when I'm reading books, people read books all the time, especially I imagine the people that are listening to me. So, you know, when I read books, when I started reading books, I wasn't really a big book reader at all. When I started with looking at my dreams, the symbols in my dreams. So I had Jung and Campbell and so on. The first thing I would do is, for instance, I dreamt about water. I would go to the back, to the index, and find water, look at the paragraph, read that, then follow another clue, another clue, another clue, another clue. That's how I would learn how to interpret my dreams properly. But when I'm reading a book now, for instance, this is Joseph Campbell's Goddesses. Some of you might be familiar with this. I think this is one of his best. And when I read, things jump at me. So I'll give you an example. I mean, these books are so, yeah, see? Something jumps at me and I will underline it. Can you see it there? Underline it, and then I'll write above what it means to me, or what I found, the words that I found. A writer collects words and phrases. This is mystic poetry. And then I make something, a small poem about it. This means this or this something, or something that inspired me, and I'll make a poem about it, and I'll show you what I wrote today on Facebook. These are not new things. I have written them years ago, but I still keep posting them because just as valid as the day that I wrote it. So this is what I wrote today, or I posted on my Facebook today. Most hopeful sages, once receiving the revelation, are not to be found on the lonely mountain top, yeah, but in the morning rush stuck in traffic. You see? Yeah? When you get the revelation, you don't live in an ashram, you know, you don't shave your head and eat avocado and beat yourself over the head with your favorite scripture. You come back to society and you share what you have learned. Okay, another one, yeah? To have an open heart simply means to dwell in this earthly garden where the two become again one, where you and your soul are seamlessly identified as one. That's what I'm just talking about now. And it's enough. And that's it. Two-liners. Sometimes one-liners. Sometimes a whole page and several pages. You know, my articles can be long. You know, I write books as well. I've written 2 books. So I can be in my, you know, I can be stuck in my head just as well as just as much as anyone. Another one. This one is a good one. I think it was Jung who said words to the effect: people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. The more I look at us, the more I agree. Yeah, exactly. And what does it mean, soul? Soul is your intuitive imagination. Soul is your life force, the life force that brings your body to life. And this life force, if you don't project it outside, don't waste it on society and so on, but you force it back into your body, becomes your imagination, intuitive imagination. And then your body requires you to communicate the things, the inspirations. The inspirations start to come, you know. You're forcing the energy back, and the energy becomes the battery, the source of your inspiration, the source of imagination, intuition. So anything you want to know, the body will then tell you in your dreams, in your visions, in your intuition. Becomes this energy, the sublimation, it's sometimes called, becomes the source of inspiration, the source of the insights will come from it. It will show you what you want to know. You will not feel tired, you will not have to sleep 10, 12 hours, 6, 7 hours is enough when you incubate, but you'll have deeper dreams, you will become more creative. Recovery of the soul also comes with the recovery of your creativity. Everyone, when they're a child, is usually creative. Everyone. Later, what happens is when we go to school, this is suppressed, because the rational is more important. The maths and physics and chemistry and computing now, the thinking is more important. But the irrational, the feminine, the intuitive, the creative is the original source of soul's language, of soul's communication to you, or to the world. So you see behind me, that's, I painted that in '96, that's the feminine at the center of the universe. I didn't know anything about the center of the universe in '96, but it came to me, it was instant, and I painted that maybe in 2 days. So writing poetry when you're reading something is great. I used to, the best way to write is you use books that are already full of mythology. Mythology is important because mythology has the symbols that talk to the soul. They come from the soul, so they speak back to it. And the relationship is a lot easier to establish. It's transpersonal. That's collective unconscious. Let me have a look at the time. I think we're still okay. That's collective unconscious. Your personal unconscious is who you are, your name, your bank account number, your address, your family ties, your family history, your religion, your religion's history, your tribe history, the city where you live, where you're from. Personal unconscious. It's not the same as collective unconscious. Collective unconscious is this. Mythology, mystic poetry, fairy tales, the story of the recovery of the soul. Soul is going to know when you're reading, especially when you're reading, someone like Campbell and Bering or Jung, is going to know that this is its language. It's about the soul. It's about its story. It's going to, I know this. It's about me, this is important, pay attention. And that's when the revelations start to come, especially when you're incubating, your energy is flowing inward to your inner life more than it is flowing to the outside. When you have made time to create for yourself sacred space, like this room for me. I have paintings, 1, 2, 3, 4 of my paintings, my books are there. There's more books over there. In my bedroom, there's old books everywhere because, when I was working, I needed more books. You don't have 1 or 2 books, like the alchemist said. You need a lot of books because when you're following the trace, when you're following an insight, you need to have a lot of books so you can follow the trace from one index to another index to another index to another index, in the book. For instance, following a symbol of water, fresh water. Fresh water is not the same as salt water, seawater. Color silver is not the same as color gold. Silver is the moon, gold is the sun. They're not the same symbology. They don't mean the same thing. And when the soul sees these symbols, it's going to inspire you to find out more. Be curious. And that's when poetry comes. Okay, let's have a look if I can find another little one for you to read. Okay, there's another one I posted today. Do things your own intuitive way, and those who aspire to recover the feminine and finally have a free autonomous life, will find you and be thankful to you. That's it. That's a 2-liner. Exactly what I'm talking about today. Just a 2-liner, and I don't remember where I got inspired to do this. You won't remember. I mean, I've written thousands of these things. If you ever go to my Facebook pages, it's just, you can spend days, months just reading this stuff. hopefully you will get inspired to write your own. And that's how the relationship starts, by writing your own. But that is to say, by having a personal, individual relationship with the spirit. I remember one time I got stuck and nothing was flowing. And I felt like, I'm reading, but I'm becoming mechanical. It's just not working. So I let it go, lie down to have a rest. In that space between falling asleep and awaking, when you still hear the birds chirping outside, but you already see and hear what's going on in the dream, at that threshold, that's it. That's the center, by the way. A voice said to me, focus on your intuition and get involved. And that was the answer. That's it. When you receive insights, they're just like this. They're concise. They're not going to be pages long. One-liners, two-liners. That's it. So that's how you write your mystic poetry. If you look at anyone like Hafiz or Rumi or Kabir or Rabia of Basra, the best poems are usually one or two-liners. There's no need for more. Intuition speaks exactly the same way. When you make contact with the soul, with the spirit, it speaks exactly the same way. And that's enough. That's enough. You don't need to. You can write a book. I've written books on that subject because that's what it's important to me. That's what I'd like to share with others and help others with. But you don't need to. You can just do the same with mystic poetry or art. Mystic poetry is better because it's in words. So long you understand what you're writing about. It can be helpful to others, helping to find their center. Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk to you about today. I'm running out of time. So thanks again, and now see you on the next one. Bye.